podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.
Blueberry.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Are you ready, hon?
Nearly. The bun came out on the left side this time. Just a sec.
We have to be there in 20 minutes.
What do you think? Ta-da!
Oh, hey, that looks good. Nice Princess Leia.
Thank you.
Interesting blaster.
Well. And you look, babe?
Yeah?
What are you supposed to be? You're on your knees with a wig on, and I'm lost. You've stumped
Well,
the
I
panel.
figured you would know for your show Ring Around the Rosie.
Marco?
I'm Mr. Fun Size, Marco Stunt.
Yeah.
Although I'm a little shorter than he is, even like this. Anyway.
And you can't do a moonsault.
Well, no, I haven't seen him do a moonsault either.
Well,
but
you
it's
can't
okay.
do most of the stuff that he does.
It's Halloween and a special Thursday edition of our show as we wrap up Go Big or Go Home. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
Stick around for all the horrible fun.
Here on Subject Cinema.
Screams!
Celebrating a decade of film podcasting, lasting out of B-Town, USA. You're tuned into Subject Cinema with T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Directive.
Oh, behave. Yeah.
I volunteer as tribute.
Suppose you run your business and let me run mine. Here's looking at you, kid.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome T.C. and Kim.
I have to say, that was an extremely nice muhaha.
Well, that's why I'm the king of Muhaha.
Still?
KingofMuhaha.com.
Are
Doesn't
you?
do anything, but it's still out there.
I didn't know if you were or not, so that's why I didn't bring it up.
Yep.
Okay.
This is Subject Cinema. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
And we're sitting here, not really in costume. We're just
No,
talking
we're not,
about stuff.
unfortunately.
But, it is Halloween night, 2019. That makes it October 31st.
It does.
Thursday, special final Halloween edition for 2019.
Yes. Yes, here
As
we
I
are.
started off Halloween with the most scary experience I could ever possibly have. I was on jury duty today.
Yeah? Yeah.
Almost got picked for a really high-profile long trial. I'm really glad I managed to they decided I wasn't right for them. So
you weren't
that's
right for that. So.
Yeah. I wouldn't like that, neither would the bosses.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, you started it off just doing what you normally do, going to work.
Yep.
Who went to work?
I went to work, yes. So here we are in the final, our final show of Go Big or Go Big Screen, where we're talking today about giant, we've been talking all week, a month long, giant bugs, giant snakes, giant lizards, giant this, that, and the other thing. What we're talking about today are giant people. That's one thing we're going to be talking about.
Okay,
and
so you mean like Meryl Streep or Brad Pitt or Quentin Tarantino?
Huh?
Well, if you said people, I'm assuming you mean egos.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. It's going to be one of those shows. Okay.
Of course it is. It's Halloween.
I've been warned.
Yes,
so
you have. It's your holiday.
It is my holiday.
Bouncing
yes.
all over the place this last week for candy.
Yes, it's
like you were a 10-year-old.
Yeah. The thing is, I didn't do that when I was a 10-year-old.
Marco could pass for a 10-year-old.
That's
Anyway.
not nice.
Hey,
Oh
I
my
love the
gosh.
guy. He was on our Rising Stars list
Yes,
this year.
that's true. But we're also going to talk about other giant things in films because
we've hit other giant things. This
but there's
series.
been a few films where they feature beings of enormous size that you're kind of like, why in the hell would you make a movie about Attack of the 50-Foot fill in the blank?
Right.
And we'll talk about that during the
Your
show.
mic a little closer to you so you're picking up a little bit better.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
That better?
A little bit more. Okay, is that good?
Okay,
All right.
that's fine. As we mentioned, we're going to talk for the first few segments about, giant people. Obviously, giants have been part of pretty much every culture as long as there have been cultures. There's giants mentioned in mythology of all over the world. Many religions talk about giants. There were giants that were usually aggressors and things like that.
So it's like a giant culture club.
Why
Is the Karma Camellia in there too?
Shut up. Shut up.
Oh, fine.
And in case you hadn't heard it the first two times, shut up.
Oh, whack.
We mentioned a film earlier in the month where we were talking about, giant people. When we mentioned 1957's The Amazing Colossal Man.
What sin could a man commit to bring this upon himself?
Yeah.
Glenn Manning, The Amazing Colossal Man.
Yes. From 1957, directed by Bert I. Gordon. There's that name again.
His initials spelled big, if you haven't figured that out yet.
In case you didn't get the joke and need it subtly put to you.
And I wonder if his real middle initial is I, or if he just did that.
I don't know.
It would have to be Ignatius or Isidore or something weird.
You should be glad it wasn't Ulysses or something like that.
Yeah. Ew. Then we get, he did plenty of giant bug movies too. So
yeah, that's true.
That would have fit. Anyway.
That's true. As we mentioned, we'll just go over it real quick. Colonel Glenn Manning is part of a group of soldiers that are at an explosion it's a test for a plutonium bomb. That sounds safe. Which is in Nevada. And
it is in Nevada.
Desert Rock, Nevada is where it takes place. A plane that is not a military plane winds up... Would you stop? Winds up crashing in the area where the bomb is supposed to go off, but the thing is the bomb hasn't gone off yet for whatever reason other than the plot device. Hello.
Sheep in the big city joke.
Yep. Colonel Manning bravely, or stupidly, depending on your point of view, rushes out to try and rescue the pilot, who may or may not already be dead. And as he's running out to try and save this person, the plutonium bomb goes off. Boom.
Finally. Because it had been sitting there after being detonated, but not actually exploding.
Yeah. It's like 3, 2, 1. Hello.
I got nothing.
Hello. Yeah, and it was kind of just... Okay, we have to, they basically were like, well, we have to sit here and wait until the bomb goes off. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds like fun. And then, like I said, plane crashes, he runs out, kerblam.
And he's standing there with his clothes burned off instead of completely incinerated into ash.
Yeah.
Which is what would have really happened.
Although, to be perfectly honest...
we knew this already from Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Oh, yeah. To be perfectly honest, though, he doesn't look real good. I mean, let's be honest. He's not going to be winning any beauty contests immediately after this happens. But once they manage to bring him back to the hospital and he doesn't somehow die of shock between there, and they wrap him up in like 80 tons of gauze, and the mummy's going, damn, talk about overkill.
Didn't they put a layer of seaweed or something?
They put a layer of
it?
Well, they kept referring to it as seaweed on MST3K.
Maybe it
might have been seaweed. I don't know what it was.
Well, I was thinking because it's wet, it would be cooling properties. I was thinking that's why that was accurate, but I don't know. Maybe not.
That could be.
I don't know.
And when they take the bandages off the next day, not only is he A, not dead from shock, B, not dead from infection, and C, not dead from the fact that he just was within spitting distance of a plutonium bomb, his skin is fine. His skin is perfect.
It's regenerated.
It is completely regenerated. There's not a burn on him anywhere, and his skin is as smooth as a baby's butt. Yay! The end. Nope, not really. As we find out later on in the film, when the military tries to hide Glenn first, the government's involved in a cover-up? How could that be?
Where's the tinfoil hats? We better not talk about this without those on.
I'm not with this hair?
Okay, fine.
Forget it.
We'll go over the bun.
Nope. No, we already established we're not wearing costumes, but you think I'm putting a tinfoil hat on this purple hair? You're out your mind. So we find out that the military has sequestered Glenn and is keeping him hidden away, although his plucky fiancée Carol is determined to find out what has happened to him. As it turns out, what has happened to him is the fact that, like we mentioned, yay, he has new skin, but oh, by the way, he's now 16 feet tall. You think she'd be thrilled by that, but, naturally she's a bit freaked. I don't really blame her. The doctors explain that, explaining as much as they can, because they honestly don't know what the fork they're doing.
Can I read this description?
Go for it.
The doctors tell her that his old cells have stopped dying and his new cells are multiplying at an accelerated rate, resulting in his growing proportionately 8 feet in height in one day. And probably will continue to grow.
Yep.
I'm sorry, when old cells are supplanted by new cells at an accelerated rate, it's not called growth, it's called cancer!
Well, actually it is called growth. Cancerous growth.
Right.
But
that's called
a tumor.
That kind of growth, it's called that kind of growth.
It's called a tumor. It's not a tumor. Anyway, so now the doctors have come to the conclusion, the grim conclusion, that they can't figure out at first how to stop this, and that Glenn is just going to keep growing and growing and growing until he eventually dies. Now, the reason that they say that he's going to die, but first go insane, let's throw that little nugget of happiness in there, is the reason that they give, now sit down, and all you biology students out there, hold on to something, because you're all going to just freak out.
It's time for a 5th grade pseudoscience class.
Really. According to this movie, and the scientists in this movie, and the scriptwriter who must have smoked a
Well, the
ton
scientist
of...
in this movie can't be believed anyway. He's married to the lady from the Screaming Skull. I mean, really.
The writers of this film, who must have been smoking a ton of weed, the heart is, according to them, not me, don't yell at me, a single cell. Right. And for some reason, other than the fact that...
little tiny bit of research in a medical manual would have told you that is bullcrap!
Or, talking to an actual doctor, that for some reason other than, once again, that nasty old plot device, hello, the rest of Glenn is growing at this accelerated rate and blah, blah, blah. But for some reason, his heart isn't.
His single cell
His
heart.
single cell heart, oy vey, is not growing as fast as the rest of him.
Nope.
And because of that, his heart is not pumping enough blood up to his brain, and so on and so forth. So he's going to go insane before he snuffs it. I mean, granted, they're not quite.
How genteel of you to describe that, honey.
Okay, they're not that blunt with Carol, but they're pretty close. Glenn, needless to say, ain't really happy about any of this, and does wind up going mental. The problem is, once he goes mental and escapes from the base where they've got him sequestered away, which, by the time this happens, he's like 40 feet tall,
something like that, yeah.
I'm like, how does a 40-foot tall Mr. Clean cosplayer sneak
vanish
off of an army base
in the desert?
In the
where
desert!
There's nothing else around.
No! It's not like he painted himself green and tried to be a saguaro or anything like that.
I guess he just turned into a horse with no name.
Big ass horse. So anyway, the doctors
dated
actually,
reference.
yeah,
Go listen
very
to the song.
very dated reference.
Oh, shut up.
The doctors actually, unbelievably, come up with a cure. I don't know how the cure is actually supposed to work. According to their theory, They're going to shoot him up with this enormous needle. I mean, for anybody who's afraid of needles, this part of the movie had to cause like full
trigger warning,
cringing. Oh my gosh. What they're going to use is going to stop him from growing anymore.
But it's not going to shrink him.
But it's not going to shrink him.
So what exactly do you plan to do?
I'm like, yeah, I'm really seriously like,
Can't they get Brainiac to come down? I mean, they look alike at that time. Why didn't they have Brainiac come down and just shoot him with the shrink ray?
Well, yeah, good idea. Not a bad idea.
Could have become
really.
the mayor of Kandor.
They mentioned something about pituitary glands, and I'm like, but that's what makes you... You know what? Never mind. I'm not going to bother. You movie.
Uh-huh.
The problem is by
this
now...
This movie has no concept of real science.
Oh,
just
no.
for the record.
But by now, Glenn is 60 feet tall and crazy. Because that's what you want.
Yep.
Especially
walking down the strip in Las Vegas.
Yeah, in a sarong.
Or a diaper.
Or
however
you want to view it. I'd rather view it as a sarong simply because they haven't invented brain bleach yet.
Honey, they still haven't invented brain bleach.
No, I know. Somebody released
Well, they have. It's called alcohol. But anyway.
Well, yeah. Okay, that's fair. The attempt to cure Glenn with the needle goes very wrong.
Yes, the poor General Major Eric Coulter there ends up with the needle right impaling him through his body.
Yeah,
and I think the most scary and realistic scene in the entire film.
It's exceedingly disturbing. Glenn runs amok on the Las Vegas Strip, which is not there anymore because they've blown all those...
No, it's still there. It's just a completely
different but that's
strip.
what I mean. They've blown all those buildings up now, and they're all new buildings.
Yeah.
And, and he winds up grabbing a hold of Carol, his fiancée. Actually, probably by this point, ex-fiancé. I mean, I do think the wedding is going to be off. And basically, does the whole kind of King Kong bit and winds up standing on a dam, and she's, like, oh, put me down. And he eventually does put her down gently. And, of course, the second he puts her down, the military starts shooting. And
well, they don't really have much of a choice in this case.
Not really. No. To be perfectly honest, I mean, they
didn't obviously aim for the head, which would have made sense.
Nobody ever does.
I know.
Sorry, Thor. Oh, I hate myself right now. So they put her, he puts her down, and then they start shooting like crazy. He falls off of the dam, and that's the end of the movie.
It is still street. It is still store with just falls, like slides down, like any other, like the.
It looks like he's diving.
Yeah,
and then he just hits the, crashes into the Colorado.
Rapids, and we don't see him after that.
Yeah, Colorado River, and is apparently dead.
The end? Question mark. Shows up.
I'm like, oh no! Don't you even
Glenn
do
Langan,
that?
Glenn Langan, as Colonel Glenn Manning. Kathy Downs as Carol Forrest, William Hudson as Screaming Skull's husband, Dr. Paul Lindstrom, Larry Thor as Major Eric Coulter, MD, and James Sehay as Colonel Halcock, with a bunch of other... with a bunch of other players off and on in smaller bit parts.
Yep.
Of course, this was from AIP.
Of course.
On a double bill with something called Catgirl when it was first released.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that's the same dude from the Screaming Skull, but whatever.
William Hudson? Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. I remember watching this movie when I was a young girl, watching it on Creature Double Feature, and they usually ran it in a double bill with the sequel, which we'll talk about in just a second. This movie, even when I was a small child, I remember thinking this movie is dumb. Simply because I just thought it was a stupid movie. Although, like I said, the scene where the man is impaled is actually exceedingly disturbing. It is an exceedingly uncomfortable scene because I think that was actually the first time I'd ever seen a movie where you heard a man scream. I'd seen enough movies where women screamed, but I'd never seen a movie where a man screamed in pain like that. And seeing somebody get pierced, I mean, this movie was in black and white, so you weren't getting, fountains of blood. It's not a Hammer film or anything like that, obviously. But, this, like I said, the scene where he's impaled, I guess is the best way to put it, by the world's biggest lawn dart it's truly frightening. I mean, like I said, for a scene with no blood, it's actually quite scary.
Yeah, I take that back. You're right. It's not the same guy.
I didn't think
same last name though, and they look alike.
They do look alike. Yeah. Well, as we mentioned, there was a sequel because apparently somebody felt like we wanted one. I don't entirely know who, but somebody thought we needed a sequel to this. For reasons that
I wasn't one of them.
I wasn't one of them either. I absolutely wasn't one of them. I remember, again, being a small child, watching these films and going, thinking to myself, why'd they make another one? I really didn't get it. The sequel was called War of the Colossal Beast, which came out in 1958. And stars, I believe, absolutely nobody from the original film.
No.
They made a big point in
the female lead in this is supposed to be his brother, his sister.
His sister Joyce,
played by
considering
Fraser, and Duncan Parkin played Glenn Manning here, not Glenn Langham.
Yep. Considering the fact that in the first film they made a big deal about the fact that Glenn didn't have any other family and Carol was the only person that he had and blah 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 blah. Now all of a sudden he's got a sister. Okay, F you.
Well, she's been living out of the country. She's been living in Mexico, right?
They don't make it clear where she's been, but he is in Mexico. Glenn is in Mexico. Sorry. Yes. Okay. Somehow Glenn.
I've only seen this once, and it was just in the last year.
Yeah.
And boy, is it bad.
It's not good. But there are some actually pretty good scenes in it. It's not a good movie as a whole, but there are some scenes that I actually don't think are that bad. As we mentioned, Glenn did a swan dive off of this dam and fell in the Colorado River. Apparently, somehow nobody missed. I mean, everybody missed the 60-foot guy floating down the Colorado River.
Or walking across the desert to Mexico.
How the hell did
they get to Mexico? He would have had to go through New Mexico or Arizona from Nevada to get to Mexico. How the hell did he get to Mexico?
I didn't write this. Even when I was writing fic as a tiny fic writer, I'd like to think I would have written better than this.
Yes, you would have. You would have indeed.
But yes, he is in Mexico, and for some reason, and as it turns out,
the Colorado River goes through Mexico. Just making sure. It's in Mexico.
Yeah,
I thought it ended in the Pacific. Sorry.
No,
it goes the wrong way.
But still, you'd think somebody would have noticed this. Of course, when we're saying all this and we're being real, flippant, sarcastic and all that, we're assuming that people did see him and just went, "Oh, that's different." We're not taking
Reba.
We're not taking into consideration that anyone who did see Glenn were also seen by Glenn and may not have lived very much longer after that. Just saying. He might have just grabbed them and shoved them in his mouth like popcorn or whatever. Who knows?
He's not Clover.
Well, we don't know that.
Ew.
We know he's nuts by then.
Yeah.
And he's also really not looking so good.
No, he's missing an eye.
Yeah, the side of his face, the left side of his face is all effed up.
Actually, it's the right side of his face, isn't it?
No, it's the left. No.
The poster shows the poster shows it. I don't know. Anyway, why isn't this thing working again? All right.
His face is all screwed up on one side. It's actually
it's the left side of his face.
Sorry, the first time we see him, that's one of the actually good scenes in the film. Is when before this happens, there's been talk about. There's a truck that's gone missing, and they find the person that was driving the truck, and they're in shock and all this stuff like that. And when they wake up, they're screaming about a giant, blah, 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 blah. And a bunch of, they go out searching this area where this person's truck was found, and this includes I'm sorry, what's her name? I forgot her name already, I'm sorry.
Sally.
Joyce.
Joyce.
Joyce and some other, the military people, Major Mark Baird and a few other people, and they're all searching. They find this one deserted area where there's, a few disabled, smashed up trucks. It looks like a toddler went on a major tantrum. Everything's all torn up and stuff like that, and the drivers and everything are missing. Mm-hmm. That's disturbing.
Oops.
That's an unpleasant thing to think about. And we wind up seeing Glenn because he steps out from behind a large rock, and he's just like I wouldn't call it a jump scare because the music tells you something scary is about to happen.
Right. Well, that's how Bird Eye Gordon works. He uses bombastic music in almost everything he did.
But the first
Usually
time
by
you
Albert Glasser. The
first time you see Glenn and what's happened to him, it is actually quite frightening, I think.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I mean, his eye is gone. There's this big, just open socket, and his skin is gone. Because, it's really...
Dude, you need to have a peel, okay? That looks terrible.
It's like Harvey Dent would look at him and go, damn. I feel positively
Aaron
good.
Eckert's Harvey Dent.
I feel positively good about myself now.
Okay.
They wind up capturing Glenn, and they bring him back to America, and I'm like, what? Why would you do this?
Because he's an American citizen.
No, not that.
Oh.
Not that part. No, I understand that. He's an American citizen and he's running amok in another country, so he's kind of our responsibility. But my point is, instead of bringing him to a military base where they could, I know the last time he was really good at getting off of a military base, but this time I think they'd be a little bit better at handling him. No, we don't do that. We bring him to Los Angeles.
You know what's interesting?
What's that?
I only know one military base of any kind in Nevada.
That is?
Area 51. How did he manage to get out of that nightmare?
I ain't touching that.
Okay, anyway.
I'm not going there. That's just too easy. Nope, they bring him to Los Angeles, and they have him heavily, and I mean heavily, sedated in an airplane hangar at the LA airport.
Well, maybe a military airport. They didn't say.
No, it's the actual. No, I'm pretty sure
Okay.
it's the actual airport.
Okay.
And the mayor of LA is like, "What are you crazy? You can't keep him here." What if he wakes up? What if he, comes out of the drug I'm like, how much drugs are they giving him? And can I get some? But,
for Pete's sake.
No, drugs are bad, okay?
Thank you, Mr. What's his name?
Garrison.
Eventually,
they're trying to reach out to Glenn. They're trying to, they're like, do you remember your sister? Do you remember who you are? Because he's completely nonverbal, unless you consider yelling verbal.
He's Frankenstein, not verbal.
Yeah. He's very much. He's got it seems like he's got the mentality of an animal,
right? More
than a person anymore. He's gone. Winds up breaking out. Winds up running amok again. And winds up near an observatory, near the Griffith Observatory. Now the problem is that at the same time that he's near this observatory, there's also a school bus full of kids that are on a field trip, because of course there are. And there's a really scary scene. He picks up the bus, it's full of kids, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be bad. But Joyce is all like, Glenn, you can't do this. You have to remember who you are, and all this stuff like that. And it actually reaches him. Amazingly enough, he looks at his sister and he recognizes his sister. He actually speaks her name. I mean, his voice is all screwed up because he hasn't used it for a long time, but he actually says her name. And it's like, oh wow, that's actually really kind of beautiful. Please put the bus full of children down. And he does that. And you can tell that he's still not well, obviously. He's still not mentally firing on all cylinders, but he knows what's happened to him, and he knows that he can't live like this. So...
He knows he's done some bad things.
Yeah. You've done some bad things, sweetie. So he decides to end it all by grabbing the power... There's a bunch of power lines, you know, those big suckers.
High
voltage power lines. He grabs these and...
Basically becomes a giant piece of bacon.
And no. I don't know how they... I don't know... I mean, if you thought stuff from the first film, you're like, what? This was the ending that was just like, are you kidding me? He fades away. He's like screaming in pain and stuff like that.
It's the plutonium.
And then all of a sudden, he's just gone.
Yeah, plutonium turned him into dust, finally.
I guess.
Yeah.
Although it was actually a nice bit of work because the film is in black and white, but the moment he grabs the power lines, it's in color.
Yeah.
So I think it's jarring, and I think it works.
Yeah.
I think it works really well. In the fact that for the rest of it, it's an incredibly stupid film.
On that note, we'll be back with more big people.
Yes, when Subject Cinema returns.
TC Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
All right, Kristen, I am so excited that you've decided to do a podcast with me, but what are we going to do a podcast about? There's so many other movie podcasts. We got to do something original.
Well, you know, I'm a big fan of Disney movies. What about something like that?
That's just kid stuff. What do we want to do that for?
Did you know that The Avengers is a Disney movie? Or that Pulp Fiction is a Disney movie?
Pulp Fiction is not a Disney movie.
It's technically owned by Miramax, which is part of Disney.
We are still going to talk about the Disney animated movies, though, right?
I thought you said that was kid stuff.
Well, you know, I've got 2 kids. I got to be a good dad and stuff.
So be sure to subscribe to the Walt Sent Me podcast, where we discuss the various subsidiaries of the Walt Disney Studios, including the animated movies.
It's available on iTunes, Podomatic, and wherever you find great podcasts. And I swear, it's not kid stuff.
The best movies. Subject Cinema.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Subject Cinema as we go big or go big screen for the month of October. I'm Kim Brown.
I'm TC Kirkham. It's our final special Halloween Eve edition.
Yeah.
We hope you checked out our rebroadcast or reposting of last year's Halloween special, War of the Worlds 2018. I posted it again yesterday. Mm-hmm. Because we didn't get our new one done, and I'm sorry about that. We'll have that done with the premiere of Imagination Theater sometime in early 2020.
Yep.
And also during the break, I did find out that John Hudson and William Hudson look alike because they're twins.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm like, okay, see, that's why I always thought it was the same guy.
Yep.
Okay, so now I don't feel so stupid. Anyway.
Okay.
If you have a colossal man, there's bound to be a colossal woman somewhere in the future, at least the way 50s sci-fi thought.
At least, well, you'd hope there would be, because if there wouldn't be, you'd have a very unhappy colossal man.
Who did. But his name was Glenn Manning.
That's true. But
not going to make me do the whole what's in.
No, I'm not going to make you do it again. 1958 brought us Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, which if everybody is probably, I think everybody has seen the poster of this film.
Hubba hubba.
Yeah. I wonder how many people wound up with a fetish because of that. Not saying that that's a bad thing.
No,
we don't kink shame on this show.
Oh, will you stop with the kink shaming stuff? William Hudson is also in this, along with Allison Hayes as the titular woman and Yvette Vickers.
Yes, Yvette Vickers, who some people might remember as the trampy lady from Attack of the Giant Leeches. Yeah, I know.
We talked about that a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Believe me, you're not missing much.
This film focuses on a lady named Nancy Archer, who is very rich and also in a very not happy marriage. And she is married to Harry, who is a bit of a bastard. As it turns out...
rich, what does she care? She can do whatever she wants to do.
Well,
I know, money is nothing without love.
Well, that's how I feel.
I know.
And it was also the 50th.
That's good because we don't have money. We just got love.
Yep, that's true. She's driving at night. She's been drinking, unfortunately. And if she wasn't drinking, she probably wouldn't have been doubted for what she sees anyway, which is a UFO. And she winds up almost crashing her car. She gets out of her car to go see what she almost hit, or hit her, depending on your point of view. And as it turns out, this is occupied by a creature that we only see the hand of, which is quite large. And she winds up getting away from this thing and making her way back to town. And, you know, she's basically screaming that she saw a UFO. Now, because
you're drunk.
Yeah, because she has had a history of drinking, and also because she has spent some time in a hospital that helps people that have mental problems, people are like, "Of course you saw a UFO, Nancy. That's fine, dear." Her husband is all like, "Yeah, we're going to try and get her committed so that I can get all her money and I can hang out with my hot babe on the side who is a woman named Honey."
Isn't that almost the same plot line his brother was doing in the Screaming Skull at the same time?
Kind of.
Yeah, okay.
There were a lot of gaslighting a-holes in the 50s.
And both of them were played by twin brothers.
Uh-huh.
That's really scary. Okay.
Yep. So he's having a bit on the side with the town bicycle Honey Parker. And
the town bicycle? That's not very nice.
Well,
I know.
I could have used another word, but I just...
Do the men ride side saddle?
Do most men ride side saddle? Can we please...
Family show. Anyway.
Can we please stop this line of conversation before it gets any more inappropriate? So...
This show is all about inappropriate. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Nancy manages to get Harry to go with her to look for she's all like, "You have to come with me, you have to believe me, blah, blah, blah." And he's all like, "Okay, I'll come with you to look for it, but if we don't find it, we're gonna send you back to the hospital because you're obviously seeing things, blah, blah." And so they go out to the desert, and surprise, surprise, they actually find it. It's actually there, which the audience knows is real. But we're all sitting there as the audience going, "Oh, they're not going to find anything, this poor lady." But nope, they find it. And guess what? There's still a giant alien there. So Harry does what most people in that situation would do, if they were men in the 50s. He shoots at it. Oh, I could make a whole bunch of remarks there, but I'm not going to. As it turns out, shooting at it does absolutely doodly squat.
Which is natural.
Yeah, it's a giant alien that has come here in a spaceship fast enough to, break the sound barrier and all that other stuff like that. So you shoot at it with a gun. Right. Why didn't you just pick up a rock and throw it? It would have done this. It would have had the same effect, you nitwit. And Harry then proceeds to show what kind of a manly man he is by developing what AEW announcer Jim Ross would call a case of the limber tail, and promptly bails, leaving his wife behind to deal with the giant alien. I don't entirely know what he expects is going to happen. I'm wondering,
Hoping that she'll get killed and he'll inherit her $50 million fortune.
I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that they're gonna, he's gonna just think that she's, that she's gonna be eaten or whatever.
Right.
She manages to make it back to her home, somehow winding up on the roof of the pool house. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And the doctor, who winds up having to sedate her, remarks about the marks that he found on her. He found these scratches on her. And somehow just finding scratches on her, I don't know why, makes him think that she's been exposed to radiation. I'm like, unless the scratches are glowing in the dark, I don't know how you'd come to that conclusion, but whatevs. Now, Harry, who was being egged on by his slut, Honey, I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? I am sorry, my Freudian slip showing. So we've passed beyond adultery and cowardice, and we're going to go straight into murder, because Honey decides to go all Lady Macbeth, and she's goading Harry to kill his wife by giving her an OD of the sedative that the doctor's giving her. The thing is, when he goes to do this, Nancy's been through a change. And no, not that one.
Da, da, da.
Yeah. Nancy is now 50 feet tall. You'd think most guys would be completely happy with that, but, No,
because then she could just roll over and they'd disappear.
Well, yeah, but it does
and
bring...
there'd be no coming back.
It does bring the phrase sexual playground to an entirely new, Forget it, never mind.
Anyway.
Moving forward, needless to say, it's like, oh my gosh, well, so much for killing her, because the problem is now everybody knows about this. And they drug her with morphine, nice, and they chain her down. What?
Well, how else are you gonna hold her?
With chains?
Well,
really?
What else did they have?
Whatever happened to first do no harm? Isn't that part of
That's not hurting them, that's just restraining them. Anyway, let's move on.
Well, they don't know if she's gone, crazy or whatever, but anyway.
Perhaps they remember what happened a year earlier when Dr. Glenn Manning went nuts in Los Angeles.
Okay, alright, okay. So the police and her butler, who has always been on her side and is a nice person, wind up going out into the desert. They find the UFO, and when they actually go inside the UFO, because reasons, they find a necklace that she was wearing. She had on a diamond necklace, and there's like all these diamonds that are in these little clear holding tanks kind of thing, little circles.
Orbs,
yeah. And their theory is that this is what the alien needs to power his ship, are diamonds, because they hadn't invented dilithium crystals yet.
Right.
Or Folgers crystals, for that matter.
Yeah, those were not yet on the market, I don't think.
I don't think. The alien who has been out doing who knows what, maybe looking for Nancy because he realized, oh wait, I think I did that and that might not have been good. And the alien shows up and the sheriff and the butler wind up being like, yeah, we should probably leave.
As for once, the butler didn't do it.
Yes, the butler didn't do it. The butler's actually a nice guy in this, so that's different. Nancy somehow manages to shake off the morphine, which is good, and then literally shakes off her chains. As in, does a Samson and just snap. She's not happy, to put it mildly. She winds up ripping off the roof of the house, as I mentioned, not happy, and goes into town because now she knows about all the stuff that's been going on with Harry. She tears the roof off the bar where Harry and Honey have been canoodling, and
I hope not in public.
Well, they're like making out, making out as much as people made out in the 50s. And in tearing off the roof, then sees Honey in the remains of the bar and hits her with a ceiling beam and kills her. Oops. Take that. Those of us who thought Jolene should have ended that way. Harry, needless to say, is completely freaked out and knows he's next on Nancy's hit list. And grabs the sheriff's gun because it's the deputy's gun, I should say, because it worked so well the first time to shoot at a giant person. And does that again because men are dumb. No offense intended.
None taken.
And she winds up not dying from the bullets. Surprise. And if she was upset before, oh, Nelly, she's upset now. She reaches down into the bar and grabs Harry and just picks him up and walks off with him in a scene where it's very obvious that the actress is holding a doll.
Wow. Duh.
The sheriff, needless to say, although, to be perfectly honest, it seems to me like the sheriff is a bit reluctant to actually shoot at her. He winds up shooting at her with a shotgun, which hits a power line, not a power line, the transformer that's the power lines are connected to and all that.
Right.
Hits that, because the sheriff apparently has aim like the stormtroopers in Star Wars, and hits the transformer, blows it up. Nancy winds up dying, and when she dies, they approach her body, and Harry's still in her hand, and he's lying there dead. Now, whether he was dead because he also was hit by the explosion, or whether she crushed him, I'd like to think she just squeezed him till he popped internally, but that's just me, and I occasionally have been accused of being slightly sadistic, so there's that, the end.
Mm-hmm. There was a remake in 1993. I thought it was for Showtime, but Wikipedia says it was for HBO, using the same title, directed by Christopher Guest and Daryl Hannah as the star.
Yeah.
And there was also a couple of parodies done. Attack of the 60-Foot Centerfold with J.J. North and Tammy Parks in 1995. And Roger Corman did a 3D film called Attack of the 50-Foot Cheerleader in 2012, starring Jenna Sims and Cassie Stratford.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Do we really need that? I mean, really?
Well, to be honest, to be perfectly honest, watching Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, it's a lot easier to watch than
I've
Amazing...
never seen it, so this is one of the ones I've never
seen. It's a lot easier to watch than The Amazing Colossal Man because Allison Hayes...
she's quite an attractive
I'm
lady.
sorry. I hate to say it that way. I don't mean to sound like I'm being exploitive, but oh my gosh, she was really beautiful.
Yeah.
And, 50-foot tall, beautiful woman, that's going to set off some bells with certain people,
Mm-hmm.
Ain't touching that, but still. Okay, moving forward. Well, we've talked about 50, giant, amazing colossal men and 50-foot women, so when people get together and when a giant man loves a giant woman very much, bow chicka bow wow.
Oh, stop.
No. We're not that kind of a show. We're not that kind of a podcast. We don't talk about those kind of movies.
We should on something at some point. We should.
Yeah, but seriously, if you think about it, if two giants start doing the hibbity dibbity, that's gonna set off earthquakes.
6.0, especially
in
really? California. Yeah.
Seriously, it's like you can wind up with tectonic.
Kind of a big one, baby. Anyway.
That brings a whole new meaning to the big one, doesn't it, though?
It also brings all new meaning to the phrase, the earth moved. Anyway.
Get out of my head! That's just...
Village of the Giants.
Yeah, which,
is a god-awful movie.
Oh, yeah.
Despite the fact that it has a lot of future stars in it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a god-awful movie.
It is really terrible. It is another example of what happens when somebody takes a piece of classic literature and goes, you know what? If we kind of tweak this, maybe nobody will notice we're totally ripping off this book or this short story or whatever. Also directed by, say it with me, Bert I. Gordon. 65, I apologize. 1965's Village of the Giants is very loosely, extremely, think of the loosest thing you can think of and multiply it by 10, based on H.G. Wells' The Food of the Gods and How It Came to Earth.
Mm-hmm. Sure it is.
Yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
This film is embarrassing, and part of the reason that it's embarrassing is because this film does not age well. I mean, a lot of films don't age well. There's a lot of films that, for whatever reason, the social climate changes because that's just the way things go. And certain films don't age well.
No. And
Boy,
this is not one of them.
Boy, does this...
And the sad thing is, Tommy Kirk, Beau Bridges, Ron Howard, Johnny Crawford, Tim Rooney, Tony Basil are all in this film. I'm like...
Yep.
I'm sorry, in the case of Tim Rooney, how do you go from the Magnificent Ambersons to Village of the Giants? Really? I mean, I know he was a Western star in between, but my God, I mean, that's sad. And Johnny Crawford and Ron Howard were both huge on television at the time.
Yep.
Crawford had just come off The Rifleman. Howard was on the Andy Griffith Show.
Yep.
What were they thinking? And, I mean, Beau Bridges and Tommy Kirk in early roles. Well, Tommy Kirk at this point was doing schlock after leaving Disney, and I don't know what got into Beau Bridges' head when he did this. I really don't.
He was a young actor, and his agent had no idea what they were doing.
Obviously.
I don't know.
And Tony Basil, I didn't even know she was, or Tony Basil. I don't know. How does she pronounce it? It's Basil.
I always thought it was
Yeah.
I always thought it was Basil, but I might
Tony
be
Basil?
wrong.
Okay.
I don't know.
Musically,
there are actually some musical acts in this as well. Freddie Boom Boom Cannon, the Beau Brummels, Mike Clifford. But the thing is...
who's Mike Clifford? I know Freddie Cannon and I know the Beau Brummels. Who is Mike Clifford?
He is a singer, and he was famous, well, as famous as you can be.
One hit.
Yeah, one-hit wonder song called...
Close to Kathy. Never heard of it. Sorry, and I know most of the stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're the one-hit wonder...
Not from the 60s. I can do it from the 70s on, not from the 60s.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway.
But I noticed he was in the music stuff, so I thought I'd throw him in there because I was just trying to be nice. Anyway, so far we've talked about how people become giants in all of these films, and it's usually something stupid. Although, to be honest, Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, that's an alien, so that's less stupid than, standing basically almost on top of a plutonium bomb, where in real life they'd be picking you up with a dustbuster. This film... You like that image? That's nice. This film, as I mentioned, Food of the Gods, again, Food of the Gods, which we've mentioned, was also done as a movie, which was awful.
We've already talked about that.
Yes, we've already talked about that, where the actual food came into human, knowledge and stuff, literally because it was coming up out of the ground. This film, this young genius, and he's referred to as Genius. That's all anybody calls him in the film, is Genius. He's the younger brother of the lead female character. Her name is Nancy. Or one of the lead female characters, I should say. And he's one of these, absent-minded professor genius type of people that make stuff just to prove they can make it. They have no idea what to do with it when they've made it.
Right.
That's safe.
See the absent-minded professor and sequel Son of Flubber.
Because that's always safe,
Yeah.
And he winds up creating a bunch of mixing chemicals together and all this stuff like that, and creates something that he decides to dub goo. I'm sorry.
This movie is so bad. Let's just see if we can wrap up the description of it in 2 minutes.
Okay.
Because it's not a very good film.
Nope. Goo basically makes anything that eats it grow large. I'm sorry, not for nothing. I'm not going to put something called goo near my mouth. But that's just me, and maybe I'm a prude.
What about goop?
Nope.
Okay.
Still not doing it. Anyway, a bunch of troublemaking teenagers, or what passes for them in this film, wind up making their way into town, and they wind up eating some of this stuff, and they grow to giant height. They grow to 30 feet tall. Because of their size, they decide, hey, we're going to take over the town and we're going to make the adults listen to us for a change, and youth rebellion and blah, blah, blah. And oh my gosh, this movie hurts. It's terrible. It's not even funny. I mean, I can deal with a terrible movie if it's funny. This movie's not even funny. I mean, it's really not funny at all.
Yeah.
But it was made, and there were giant people in it.
And of course, it was Burt Gordon, and
yes.
all of his stuff had something to do with weird things. He did also did King Dinosaur. We talked about beginning to the end. He did the Cyclops, Attack of the Puppet People.
Another giant film. Is the Cyclops. The Attack of the Puppet People is going the other way.
Yeah.
Nobody attacks anybody, but
and the Food of the Gods, which was his final film.
Yep.
So it's like our
if you have never seen Village of the Giants, count yourself
lucky.
Yeah, count yourself fortunate.
It's on Svengoolie every now and then.
It has been on Sven. Yes,
we've
that
kind
poor
of
man.
We kind of zip through the movie and watch his segments, and that's it.
It's very interesting. The one thing I find very interesting is when the teenagers.
Most of them in this case are actually bordering on teenagers, at least. It's not like 30-year-old Steve McQueen playing 17 in The Blob at the same time.
I find it terribly interesting that when the teenagers eat this stuff and start growing, that the camera tends to linger on certain body parts longer than others when they start.
Yes, it has to do with the package area on the guys and the breasticles of the women.
No, just the breasticles.
Oh, okay.
No, we don't get any shots of... I don't remember any shots like that, and I think I would.
No, you wouldn't, because you wouldn't be attracted to any of these guys. They're not your type.
True.
Yeah. There's no Roman Reigns or any of those among them, so...
Fair enough.
Okay.
I deserved that. No, I deserved that. Completely deserved that.
Mystery Science Theater also did this one. Which I don't think we've ever seen their version, have we?
I don't think we have either.
And I'm just like, oh god, it's not a good movie.
It is not a good movie. I remember actually seeing this when I was 12 or 13 or something like that.
Again on Creature
No,
Double
actually
Feature?
not on Creature Double Feature. I just saw it was just something that was on TV one afternoon, and I was just like, oh, I've never seen it. It sounds interesting. And I remember watching it and just being like, this is stupid. I mean, even at 12, I was just sitting there going, this is really, really, really
Well, you
dumb.
had very esoteric tastes by
Well, that, and I was also like, did people really talk like that back then?
Yo, daddy-o.
Yeah, really. I'm like, people really didn't talk like this, did they? And of course, I had no parents or adults around to ask at the time, so I was just like, I'm just going to pretend I didn't see any of this.
We're going to skip in the next segment to one of the films that we've been talking about and touching on here and there, but we haven't actually discussed, because it happens to be possibly the most ludicrous idea for a giant insert animal here movie that you have ever seen. And how our beloved Dr. Leonard McCoy got mixed up in this movie, I will never know.
I don't know either.
We'll be talking about Night of the Lepus
when Subject Cinema returns.
Good times and great movies. Subject Cinema.
Want to listen to Subject Cinema on the go? Check out Stitcher. You can access all the latest episodes right from iPhone or Android. Check it out. Click on the Stitcher logo on our sidebar or go to Stitcher.com and search for your favorite PNR Network show. Get started today.
Want to be a part of Subject Cinema? Then email us. Your ideas, suggestions, and comments keep us going. SubjectCinema@PNRNetworks.com.
We probably can't cover the thousands of films made every year, but it's sure a lot of fun to try. Subject Cinema.
Welcome back to Subject Cinema. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
It's our final Halloween show for 2019. We hope you've enjoyed our series. And we got Night of the Lepus coming up here in a minute. But right now we got something new for you. We first mentioned it last week. This is something brand new we're doing. It's called the PNR Networks Patron Circle. It is our new Patreon setup. $5 a month will get you a bunch of extra podcasts, a bunch of extra articles, all kinds of winning opportunities, chances to chat with all of the people involved with PNR Networks, including the two of us, Eric and Valerie Lyon of Cavebabble and Anthony Lamberti of Comic Grotto, plus anybody else that wants to join in. We're going to have all kinds of special polls. There are going to be opportunities for you to be involved to do different stuff. We're going to have some cool gifts now and then. Your monthly membership would help us to do more for you. Because the more membership we get, the more money we make and the more we can do for you.
Yep.
It's just $5 a month, paid on the first of every month through Patreon, not before. And it's gonna, like, if you join on November 3rd, you won't get billed until December 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, if you join before November 10th, you're gonna get 2 cool perks right at the beginning: a suitable for framing Patron Circle Charter member certificate, and inclusion in a Thanks for Giving video we're doing to premiere on Thanksgiving Day as thanks to our patrons.
Mm-hmm.
We hope that you will be interested. It's the cost of a large latte at most Starbucks or Dunks out there. $5 a month works out to 17 cents a day. Surely you can afford that for us. It's very, very big. We want to be able, and our idea in doing the Patron Circle is to move from simple patronage to membership, where we can be involved with the people who contribute.
Yes.
We're going to build a community, build monthly chats. We're going to do a lot of other stuff. We have a few new projects. We've already talked about Your Imagination Theater. We have a new spinoff of Ring Around the Rosie in the works, and we have our large patron podcasts, Kaiju Corner, Freeze Frame, and as yet to be named Film Review Show. And we'll have mini podcasts all the way through the week also. I'll be just doing updates over there all the time.
Yep.
Starting in a week or so. And we want you to be a part of it. So please go to patreon.com/PNRNetworks and join the Patron Circle. Right off the bat, you're going to get a questionnaire asking you which show you were most interested in and which show get you involved. And don't forget, you're supporting the entire PNR Networks family. That's something like 15 podcasts and like 8 or 9 sites, and everything we do depends on you guys, because we don't take advertising, although we will have a swag shop up in the next couple of weeks, and we want to be involved with you. So please take the time and join, and this time of year is a great time to join when you're metering out your money for, upcoming end of the year gifts.
Yep.
Be sure to include us for $5 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Patreon.com/PNR Networks, and we'll be looking forward to you becoming a member of the Patron Circle. Now. Night. I mean, I should do this in a very, very
movie voice.
In a world where our most ridiculous idea for a plot exists, where fuzzy little rabbits can become bloodthirsty monsters, it's a world in which exists Night of the Lepus!
Yep.
All apologies to Don LaFontaine.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Sorry, sir. Anyway.
1972's Night of the Lepus falls into several categories.
Bad, really bad, and god-awful!
Well, yeah. That's not where I was going, but that's okay. Where I was going is that it does fall into the horror category. It also falls into the horrible category, but that's beside the point. It also is part of something that was very specific to its time. Certain kinds of films are very specific to their time. Like, the biker films of the 60s and, the breakdancing films of the 80s, so on and so forth, like that. The 70s had a very specific niche of film.
Several of them.
Too damn many.
Yeah. There was kung fu flicks, there was blaxploitation, there were skateboarding films, there were...
Well, all those niches are great.
Low-budget horror films, and this falls into that.
It even falls into a more specific category than low-budget and dumb horror films. This falls into the eco-horror.
Oh, yes.
Eco-horror films were films where the whole point of the film was that man has screwed up the planet long enough and nature's getting her own back by using animals basically as weapons. These films usually have, very anti-government stance. The government is either ineffectual or behind the problem. Case in point, Barracuda.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. This is based on a well-thought-of science fiction novel titled The Year of the Angry Rabbit, written by Russell Braden, or Braden, I don't know how you pronounce his name. They took this book and the idea behind it, and then threw out the rest of it and made their own script.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, The Year of the Angry Rabbit is a story about they want to breed rabbits. They want to introduce a disease into the rabbit population to kill them off. Unfortunately, it winds up causing all kinds of problems, and it goes from there. But Night of the Lepus, I would like to bring up, as far as I know, that book has nothing to do with giant killer bunny rabbits.
Right.
As opposed to Night of the Lepus, which does have giant killer bunny rabbits.
The thing is, it has giant killer bunny rabbits and a bevy of stars who should have known better. Stuart Whitman, Janet Leigh, Rory Calhoun, and DeForest Kelly were the leads in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So you got Stuart Whitman, who's probably best known for the guy from Them, right? Was he in Them?
No, that was James Whitmore.
That was James Whitmore. Stuart Whitman. Stuart Whitman was on High Chaparral?
He was in a lot of stuff.
He was on a bunch of westerns.
He was in The Longest
Janet
Day.
Leigh, Psycho. Rory Calhoun would do more horror films later, but I knew him from Capitol. He was a big star.
He was a big
in the
Western
westerns.
star and stuff.
Dee Kelly, of course, before he was on Star Trek as Dr. McCoy, he was another one that did a lot of westerns.
Yep. Usually as a heavy or a henchman of the heavy or whatever. But this film is about scientists that their whole thing is that they're trying to curb the rabbit population in a certain part of the country. Now
There's the idea from the book. Now the rest gets thrown out.
Yeah. The reason that the rabbits have been so populous is because the coyotes, which are the natural predator of rabbits, have been killed off by stupid humans. See, the thing is, when you kill off the predator, the prey species looks around and goes, oh wait, I'm safe. Time to start having sex. And they start, the rabbits start doing what rabbits do.
Now you can do your bow chicka bow bow.
They start doing the rabbit hibbity dibbity. And, then we wind up with thousands of rabbits. And that's not an exaggeration.
Mm-hmm.
Rabbits are one of the most prolific creatures on the planet if you don't check if nature doesn't step in, or man, because for some reason people like to shoot rabbits.
Right.
Ugh. So these scientists decide they're going to work on something to try and safely curb the rabbit population. So the idea is one of the rabbits is injected with a drug that is supposed to cause birth defects in rabbits. What?
It's the 70s.
What kind of a monster are you?
It's the 70s.
The problem is that one of the scientists' a child named Amanda, who is not the brightest crayon in the box, thinks that the rabbit is cute, and so she winds up taking the rabbit home with her, and then she winds up losing it. The rabbit gets away and hops out into the cold, cruel world.
Mm-hmm.
So some time passes, and as it turns out, the rabbits are breeding, and they're also growing really big. Now, the thing is, when you have a rabbit by itself, you have a rabbit, one regular-sized rabbit, like to bring that up. You have a rabbit. It's cute little fuzzy, cotton-tailed cuteness, with eyes. It's a little fluffy bunny. Oh, it's so cute. Now, the thing is, rabbits eat plants.
Practically everything.
They eat
We've
plants.
seen that on the rabbit channels we watch on YouTube.
Yes.
They eat anything. Don't let them eat raspberries, though. They look like the rabbits from the movie.
Do not feed your rabbit strawberries or raspberries, because it's especially your white rabbit.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, wow.
It's like a Nine Inch Nails video or something. Blah. Anyway, the thing is, when you have a regular-sized rabbit and you let it eat what it wants to eat, it's going to eat, grass, leaves, carrots, kale. They actually do like kale, weirdly enough. The thing is, when you have a rabbit that's larger than a horse, it's gonna eat horse.
Yeah.
And people, if they can get it. Because grass ain't gonna cut it anymore. No, these rabbits, as I mentioned, are the size of people, which would be bad enough if you... Actually, you know what the thing is? If you think about it, if the rabbits stayed with... if you got a giant rabbit, but it was still not carnivorous, that would still be a big problem. Because then you'd have giant rabbits doing the hibbity-dibbity, and they'd be, making more giant rabbits,
Which would eat everything out. You'd eat the town out of house and town.
Yeah, you'd have a famine.
Yeah.
Because all of the green stuff would be gone. That would be bad.
We saw that actually. It was actually kind of showed to everybody who saw Wallace and Gromit attack Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
Were-Rabbit, yeah. But as it turns out in Night of the Lepus, that doesn't happen because for some reason these rabbits have become not only, as I mentioned, actually they're bigger than horses. They're carnivorous.
Yeah.
For some reason. Don't ask me why, but they are.
Either.
So they wind up killing anything they can get their little furry mitts on.
Mm-hmm.
The end of the film involves the rabbits being trapped and they wind up being shot and electrocuted. And as it turns out, it's a happy ending for one of these films for a change.
Yeah.
Because these are all these mutated rabbits, and the regular rabbits are still out there, probably hiding, going, I am not sticking my head out a window for anything.
Uh-huh.
They're all like, oh, hey, we can hop around now, so it's hop, hop, hop. And there's also, the coyotes are coming back. Now, that might be like, wait, what? Didn't you say coyotes eat rabbits? Yes, they do. But the thing is, they don't eat them, to the point where they're going to be a dearth of rabbits. They're there as nature's balance,
right.
So
quickly on this before we go any further,
right?
Want to bring up the fact that the little girl Amanda that you said we was talking about, played by Melanie Fullerton, she was a very popular young episodic actress for a few years in the early 70s. She did a series called To Rome with Love with John Forsythe and Susan Neer. I loved that show when I was a little kid. I remember she played a rabies shot. She had to get a series of rabies shots after getting bitten by a dog in an episode of Adam 12, I think it was. And then she did this. And Paul Fix is the sheriff in this movie. This is the only movie that DeForest Kelley and Paul Fix did together post Star Trek. They may have done some westerns together. Both of them had played a doctor. Paul Fix played Dr. Piper, I believe it was, in the original pilot, The Cage.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Which is an interesting little thing.
That's exceedingly cool.
The only one that's missing is John Hoyt, who also played a doctor in one of those episodes. I forget which one. Possibly Where No Man Has Gone Before. I don't remember. But anyway.
No, I think that was D. Anyway,
okay.
I'm not sure. This film sucks. I mean, sorry.
Don't mince words, Bones. What do you really think?
This film sucks.
How appropriate would that be for that particular phrase?
And this film sucks.
I've also never seen DeForest Kelley looking quite as smarmy as he does in this film.
It's not a good look.
It's not a good look for him.
No. Not
and the
at
sad
all.
thing is, the man is known for being one of the nicest men to ever walk the planet. He was friends with everybody on the show. He was friends with even fans, and he made friends with everybody. And to watch him trying to play this kind of role, I've only seen parts of it. She's seen most of the movie. I've only seen little bits and pieces. But I looked at some of his stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, really? This is the best you could do, Dee, after Star Trek ended?
Really? The thing about this film that is exceedingly upsetting to me, I will admit, to me, possibly just to me, is the end of the film where the rabbits have been trapped and are being electrocuted and or shot.
It does actually, though, make for a more realistic ending, unlike stuff like The Swarm and Beginning of the End. Because those are involving water and weird crap like fires and stuff.
Right.
This at least is a realistic where they're actually running into a trap that's been set up for them.
Yes.
So.
And we get lovely close-up shots of rabbits being shot, of rabbits being electrocuted. Allegedly giant rabbits, but they're actually obviously real rabbits. The thing is, I hate to be the one to break it to the people who made this movie, but shooting rabbits in slow motion on a miniature set does not make them look gigantic.
I think it was interesting.
It makes them look like rabbits on a set.
This was inspired by the success of Willard a year earlier, and it was, for those of you who don't know, Willard was about a guy who basically commanded a group of rats. It was remade in the 90s with Crispin Glover.
Yep. The sequel to Willard was
Ben with Lee Montgomery and with its hit theme song by Oscar winning, if I'm not mistaken, theme song by Michael Jackson.
Yep.
This movie
attempts to have that same creep factor and fails.
But it's interesting in the fact that Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer was originally just going to call the film Rabbits.
Mm-hmm.
And then they decided to go a different route. If you've seen the poster, and it's on the Wikipedia page, this poster is so laughably bad, it's scary. It's the people standing, looking at a bunch of what looks like gossamer eyes, to me. No, you can't see what the animal is.
For those of you who don't...
And they changed it to Night of the Lepus in an attempt to fool the public, not knowing that Lepus was the scientific name for rabbit.
Yep. For those of you who aren't sure who Gossamer is, Gossamer was the monster in
I already did him once.
The old Bugs Bunny cartoons, the big red monster with the big eyes. That was Gossamer. But you can't tell what kind of monsters these are.
I agree with
Yep, you're right. Yeah. And I'm sorry, I can't even picture anybody who went to this film and thought they were getting an honest-to-goodness monster movie.
And you know what's really scary? The movie was so bad, it didn't deserve a release on VHS. And now it's out on Blu-ray as of last summer. I'm terrified. I mean, of course, when you think about it, Birdemic is out on Blu-ray too, and so is Miami Connection, so it's like, okay,
I can't deal with the end of this movie. I cannot deal with the end of this movie. I mean, I saw it the one time, and I was like, I'm going to throw up.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw up.
Yeah.
Other giant whatevers have been out there, and we've mentioned a lot of them. But one of the strangest, and I mean strangest, is a film that TC thinks a lot higher of than I do.
I do. I think it's an amazing, interesting premise. And it's because it involves something that's completely non-sentient.
Yeah.
It's a, hang on. Let me pull this up on Wikipedia really quick so I can get the right year and stuff.
1950.
Sorry. Wait a minute. Wait till I'm ready. I didn't know you were going to bring it up right now.
Sorry.
Okay. Now you can.
1957's The Monolith Monsters, which is one of the weirdest concepts for a movie.
It's a great concept.
Ever.
I do think it should, as I've said before when we've talked about it on the show before, I do think a more proper title of the film would have been The Monster Monoliths, rather than the Monolith Monsters. What it is it's a large meteorite that crashes in a Southern California desert and explodes into hundreds of black fragments, which when they're hit by water, they grow very large, very tall, and very rapidly. And they're spread all over the valley of this place. And if you touch them, they can turn you into stone.
Yep.
I had never seen this until it ran on Svengoolie about a decade ago. And I sat... Kim was bored the first time. I finally got her to sit through the whole thing the second time he ran it, and she was just like,
"What? Are you kidding?"
I think it's a brilliant premise because it's totally non-aggressive. These are not sentient rocks. They're just space rocks. Space alien rocks. Space rocks.
Yeah.
They don't know. They're not trying to take over the world. It's just the fact that what they're made of could end up destroying the world because they're growing so fast and spreading so quick.
Yeah.
And growing so big, everyone crushes, they make more rocks that grow again.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant premise. I thought it was really well done, and I still think it's one of the better horror movies of that time frame. It starred Grant Williams, Lola Albright, Les Tremaine, otherwise known as Mentor, for those of you who don't remember from the Shazam TV series, and William Shallard, Nancy Drew's father, Gidget's father.
Yeah,
and narrated by Paul Frees.
Yep, Grant Williams, some of you might remember as the titular character in The Incredible Shrinking Man.
We can't talk about Shrinking Man here. This is the doll. This is the big shows.
Movie,
if you've never seen the Monolith Monsters, it's worth checking out because I know as far as quality goes, it's a typical Universal International B movie. But the story is well done. It's well acted. It's one of the few ones without John Agar, who would normally fit into something like this. And I just thought the premise of it was so different and so unique compared to, big googly monsters and, praying mantises and all that stuff. I just loved it. I still love it. I watch it every now and then. I think it's a great film.
The thing that winds up stopping the
I'd love to see them do this now with all the CGI and some good big
the thing that winds up stopping the progress of this plague, for lack of a better term, ironically, is just a different version of what starts it. It's salt water.
Yeah, it has to have fresh water to grow. Salt water destroys it.
Yeah.
And it's really amazing.
I'm like, well, that's great. What are you going to do the next time it rains? And also, this film doesn't really go into something else. What are they going to do with all the rocks that are there now? They can't, they can't put them anywhere. They can't, they're going to just sit there until the next rain, and then they have to wait for it to happen again. It's just a thought.
Well, it's not going to, because it seems like the salt mixed with the water nullifies the properties. That's what I got from it.
No, you might be right.
I don't know, but it's definitely worth a check out if you've never seen it. And it also
is a truly weird idea for a film.
Yeah, it also features Phil Harvey, who we've talked about before on other movies, William Flaherty, Troy Donahue is the dynamite expert in a small role, and Paul Peterson is the newspaper boy. During his run, he was at the time on Donna Reed's show. So it's like, okay. I just think it's a great movie, and I think if you've never seen it, give it a shot, because it's definitely unique. We're going to wrap things up.
Yep, when Subject Cinema returns.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
eCinemaOne is your choice for great info and commentary about the world of film and entertainment. Daily trailer postings, the latest news and film reviews, commentary about the state of the industry, the weekly Subject Cinema and 3-Minute Weekend podcast, and so much more you won't believe it. New material is being posted daily, so join us each day and see what you're missing out on. Once you visit, you will always be back for more. eCinemaOne from PNRNetworks. eCinemaOne.com.
Blockbuster or bomb, it's all good for us. This is Subject Cinema.
We hope that you have enjoyed our foray into a big or go to the big screen. I'm surprised you're not crying buckets of tears. Now this is our last Halloween show actually going up on Halloween.
Well, wait till next year.
Oh, boy.
That's my attitude.
Yeah, that's all.
And as I've mentioned, Halloween in my head 24/7, so.
We are entering Oscar season. Oscar movies are starting to come out. No, there's a lot of good stuff out there this year.
Yeah.
We have to catch up on a bunch of stuff because we haven't had time to get to the theater and see a lot of the stuff we wanted to see, but hopefully we'll have that chance because we're starting to enter our year-end cycle, too. November, we'll have some coverage of the Boston Fall Festival circuit. We'll have some other stuff going on in November, and then December, we start our year-end stuff, and it's going to be nuts because this year has been all over the road in film-wise.
Yeah.
The movies, the award season officially started with the nominations for the Gotham Awards last week, and we'll be getting more and more nominations in the next few weeks as they all start lining up to give, their favorite movie. Some of the most buzzed movies this year, just quickly, you'll probably be seeing The Irishman in the mix. It's actually playing in over 100 theaters. It's not nearly enough, according to the critics, but, theater chains are not showing it because it is going to Netflix on day and date, but it's got Robert De Niro and Al Pacino in the best roles of their careers, according to many people.
Yeah.
It's also 3 hours and 45 minutes long.
Yeah.
So have fun sitting through that. It's like Gone with the Wind. It's longer than Return of the King by 10 minutes. That's terrifying. There's also Marriage Story coming up, another Netflix film with Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver. Jojo Rabbit's getting some buzz, but not a lot. I'm just trying to think of what else is getting a lot of buzz.
The Lighthouse.
Lighthouse, which we still need to get to see. It's out here in Boston now. Robert Pattinson, Willem Dafoe. Once Upon a Time in America. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino's 9th film. Yippee. And a few other ones.
Well, it's important to some
there.
people.
We'll keep you up to date on all the awards and stuff as we go through on the eCinemaOne and on our Patreon reports, and we hope that you'll come up and check that out. Also, again, as we said earlier, at patreon.com/PNRNetworks. We have a bunch of other shows out there. Front Row 5 and 10 has been taking a couple weeks off because we've been having... The first week we had a cable issue. The second week we were just... Work was going crazy. Hopefully it will be back in next week with more lists. And remember, you're welcome to contribute to your list. And if you contribute an idea for a top 10 list for Front Row 5 and 10, starting in November, and we use your idea, you get mentioned on the show, you get mentioned on the website, and you get a Front Row 5 and 10 t-shirt. And it's all going to be flying your way. If you'll join us over there for Front Row 5 and 10, right here on this Subject Cinema feed every Thursdays, hopefully, back in November. And please write to us with those ideas at either Front Row or Subject Cinema, both at PNRNetworks.com.
Okay. And as TC mentioned, we have other shows out there, including some solo shows that we both have. I have Ring Around the Rosie, which is my wrestling podcast. And
there's a spin-off of that coming soon.
And also my Supernatural podcast, Platinum Rose's Garden.
There is no spin-off of that coming soon because it's the final season of the show. Unless they do a spin-off, and then you could just pick up where that is.
Yeah, I know.
That'd be actually kind of cool, wouldn't it?
It would be.
Or you could start talking about Walker Texas Ranger next season if it gets picked up.
Yeah.
Which Jared Padalecki's going to star in.
Yep.
And executive produce. I just can't see him as Walker Texas Ranger. Chuck Norris, Jared Padalecki. That's like that. I'm sorry. That's like The Undertaker and Marco Stunt. I mean, really, seriously.
Well, if you had told me that a remake, if you had told me that a reboot of Hawaii Five-0 would work, or Magnum PI,
Sexual McGarrett.
Oh, we're still. Boy, you are not.
I like MacGyver.
Yeah,
Lucas Till is great as MacGyver.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah, Lucas Till is great.
I haven't seen Magnum.
I'm sorry,
it got good notices.
Yeah, it has. And I also have a new YouTube channel that doesn't have a lot on it.
It's awesome.
Oh, stop!
It is Platinum Rose Roleplay.
Yeah, there's a couple of videos up there, and hopefully we'll go and check them out.
And that is, by the way, at her own channel. There'll be a link in the show notes. There should be a link in the show notes. I haven't put it in yet. I got to do that because it is her own channel. It's not on the PNR Networks site. It's on her Platinum Rose Roleplay channel. So you've got to make sure. And it is linked on our Cyborg YouTube. And check out our YouTube site too.
And TC has some solo projects
I do 2 mini podcasts every week. As you guys well know, 3-Minute Weekend is the run-up of all the films coming out in theaters, whether it's a blockbuster or just in 1 or 2 cinemas, but it's officially released, and that's on Fridays. Tuesday, Digidex covers the latest in home video from the major studios, minor studios, all the major titles, plus Criterion Collection releases, and as applicable, new Netflix and Amazon Prime stuff. And that's Tuesdays. Usually both of those are up around 7 a.m., so you can take a look at those.
Yep.
I do have a disaster movie show called Catastrophe Vortex, eventually. It still hasn't come back. I've got 3 or 4 scripts ready. I haven't recorded it yet. I will. There's been so much going on. It probably won't return until 2020. I got to be honest. But it will be coming back. And definitely be watching for that. And we have 1 or 2 other little projects in the works coming up. As we mentioned, Your Imagination Theater is going to be a new dramatic an honest-to-goodness, old-fashioned radio drama type show with original stories. We're hoping to do 4 or 5 productions a year.
Yep.
It will start with our newest one, Athena Breakdown, probably in January. I got to admit, we didn't get it done for Halloween because A, scheduling conflicts, and B, I have a hell of a case of writer's block in 2 or 3 areas that I just can't gel the way I want them to be. So, but the rest of it, sounds pretty good, and it's going to be fun.
We'll get there.
Yeah, it'll get there eventually. And as I said, we do have a few other projects in the work. We've been talking about the possibilities of doing some more original stuff for our Patreon supporters, in addition to the 3 podcasts we're sort of doing over there right now, and the mini ones that we're going to be doing in the next couple of weeks. And we also have been giving some thought to trying our hand at a comical Let's Play channel. I don't know whether that'll come, but if it does, it'll also be in 2020. So it'll be well after the fall movie season is over. The Oscar season ends in December. So, but definitely we're looking into how to do that right now, because I just think we'd have so much fun. Because we play video games occasionally. Ken plays a lot more than I do, but we neither one take it seriously. And we were just thinking how much fun it would be to include everybody watching us play as novices some of these ridiculous games and just having fun with it.
Yep.
So hopefully that'll come, like Clem and Boots did last year.
Yeah.
And hopefully that'll come up
And
soon.
we also have other members of our little island of misfit toys.
We do. Anthony Lamberti is on a sabbatical right now, but he is working on returning to the podcasting world. He tells me that he is more comfortable podcasting than vlogcasting. So he may be making a return to the podcast airwaves with Comic Grotto in the near future. And of course, Eric and Valerie Lyon and their dynamic show, Cavebabble, coming from the cloisters of Missouri every week with some great stuff. They recently did a bunch of movies that I don't think you'd be very comfortable with. They just did Candyman. I don't think you'd be real happy with that. I know you're not a fan of that movie, so...
No.
That's one Cavebabble you will not be listening to.
Nope.
Although...
Sorry, guys.
I'm not sure. Wasn't there a remake of that, too, recently?
I don't know.
Okay. Anyway.
I don't want to know.
I know. I know, but I just thought I'd warn you so you'd see it out there.
I've been warned. That's enough.
That's one of her triggers.
Okay.
Anyway, and I got a music thing out there called the Kirkham Report, and we have another show, a blog about music and records and books and stuff called Planet BiblioMusica. I've been terribly lax on both of those, but Eurovision season is coming very soon, and they will both get ramped up in action as we get ready to cover that. Junior Eurovision is coming up in November, and the full Eurovision songs are starting to hit right now, and so you'll be seeing more and more on both of those channels. So be sure to keep on watching those, and continue to watch. We debuted a brand new website for Ring Around the Rosie this week.
Yes, that
you
looks
did.
Great,
that was
awesome.
And I hope that you'll like it, and we're going to continue to revamp and add to our main sites, eCinemaOne, eCinemaBoston, and stuff. So keep watching. You never know what we're going to come up with right here, PNRNetworks, and you can get to it all from every show notes and every sidebar on every site.
And if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow me at PlatinumRoselle at Twitter.com.
And I am at PNR. Yes, I am. I'm at eCinemaOne and eCinemaBoston.
He'll get it out sooner or later.
I'm usually on eCinemaBoston more than I'm on eCinemaOne, but I'm also on TKR Online for my music stuff.
I want to also say something real quick.
And we both have Facebooks, too.
Yeah, I also want to say something real quick. This past month, at the beginning of the month, I decided that I was going to undertake a project. I was going to tell a joke a day all through the month of October. These are not jokes that came from anywhere else.
She wrote every one of these jokes.
My brain.
And they're funny as hell. Most of them.
Yeah, some of them are puns, and
well, they're puns funny.
Yeah, puns are, that's a trigger for some people. They really don't like them. Unfortunately, I'm kind of okay at doing them. So,
kind of. You're the one demanding to be called the Empress of Puns. You're not kind of okay. You could outpun, people who do it for a living, probably.
Oh, you're too kind. But
you and Drew Lynch on the stage, I bet you could outpun him easy.
But it was really fun to do that, and I got a lot of positive...
I tried to talk her into doing another month of turkey jokes, but she won't do it.
No. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for all the positive feedback that I got and for all the nice words. They really meant a lot.
Yeah, and she did, and she deserved every bit of it, because some of them were really, really good. Quite a few of them, actually. We hope you've enjoyed our Halloween stuff, and now... I'm sorry to say, it's time to say farewell to the Great Pumpkin for another year. For Subject Cinema, I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be buttered.
And may your roses always be in bloom.
We'll see you in November with regular stuff.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to Subject Cinema with hosts T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema is produced by PNRNetworks, Boston, Massachusetts, which is solely responsible for its content. Subject Cinema theme performed by Eric Lyon. Subject Cinema is recorded and produced using Sony Vegas products. Subject Cinema is copyright 2017 by PNRNetworks under a Creative Commons license. Check out a new episode of Subject Cinema every weekend. Until next time, this is Bob Taylor for Subject Cinema, and we'll see you at the movies.
That's all.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.